Gerhard Bloom, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So let's look at the lies and hypocrisy coming out of the DNC. Yeah, the Democratic National Convention. They're putting a wall around the place, right? A big fence barrier to protect the DNC from their base. You know, the radical Antifa fascists and these fascists for Hamas and Palestinian terrorism. They're trying to shoulder the Democratic politicians to force the end of the conflict in Gaza and stop arms sales to Israel. Awful. And they have already a very soft spot in their heart, these Democratic politicians, for these fascists. But they have to be very carefully, tread very carefully, because the American public as a whole is strongly in support of Israel. Good, they haven't lost their minds yet. But at any rate, they're putting a fence around the place. Fences don't work. Walls don't work. Waltz, right? Waltz says, and Donald Trump wants to put up a wall, 25-foot wall. He's going to start a factory for 30-foot ladders. What an absolute pinhead. Yes, you can build a 30-foot ladder, but it takes some time and effort to get the ladder there, and people notice, oh, what's this 30-foot ladder doing here? For millennia, for thousands of years, people have put walls around their cities because they work. They work. No, sieges have been effective, but it takes time and it takes effort. That's what you want with the wall, right? Instead, no wall. 10 million people have flooded across the border. Time and time again, Joe Biden, Kamila Harris, the border is secure. The border is secure. Yep, the border is secure. Then Kamala Harris says, yep, the border is secure insofar as it's a priority for us. Said in the previous video. Which is it? Is it a priority for you? Because if you've secured the border, you don't need to make it a priority. It's closed. Donald Trump had instituted some excellent policies. It was working. Biden, day one, rescinded them all. Millions of people flooding in. And then now, after the lie can't be held anymore, they said, oh, yeah, this is Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump's fault. Absolutely not. Record numbers, people at terrorist watch list. I don't know. I could go on about this fence business and the border business, but they're lying to you. You need to have a photo ID to get into the Democratic National Convention, right? Democratic National Convention, an ID. I thought black people didn't know how to get IDs, right? It's racist to expect adults to be able to get an ID. So I guess they don't want black people at the DNC, or maybe they were lying to you. They were lying to you, right? Walt, Democratic Party, more lies. They put out a video, an ad, where Donald Trump is in conversation with Governor Walz, congratulating him for having called in the National Guard and quelling the riots that were destroying Minneapolis, right? This is Donald Trump praising Governor Walz. What they don't show you is that Donald Trump had been telling this guy, Walz, to call in the National Guard to destroying your city, Minneapolis. The mayor of Minneapolis was calling for Walz to call in the National Guard, dragged his foot for days as the city was being destroyed. People being killed in the streets, businesses burned down to the ground, dragged his feet. So finally he acts. Donald Trump pats him on the head and says, yeah, good job. Those National Guards, they did the trick. Went through them basically like a hot knife through butter. So more and more lies. Spreading lies again, ad nauseum, about Donald Trump, people in Charlottesville, the Charlottesville, very ugly. You had neo-Nazis marching in the street. Young woman was killed. Awful. But Donald Trump, to calm temperatures, there were good people on both sides. There were people who wanted to pull down Confederate monument. Other people wanted that up. Part of their legacy, part of their history. I can understand arguments on both sides. But Donald Trump was very clear, saying, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the racists. I'm not. In the same speech, they cut that portion out. Joe Biden, I wasn't going to run for president, but then I heard this, and so I knew I had to, lie. And not a single media representative, a journalist, called Joe Biden out for the lie. Absolutely shameful. And as Waltz was allowing the city of Minneapolis to burn, Kamala Harris had a bail fund to release people who were burning down Minneapolis. These people, they will lie. They will stop at absolutely nothing. Truth is, like Dennis Prager says repeatedly, truth is not a left-wing value. Since Lenin, everything must be sacrificed for the cause. Truth is what advances the party's cause. More leftist nonsense from Kamala Harris, right? She's awfully quiet in terms of her policies because she knows the population of the United States does not want their Marxist nonsense, the open borders, soft on crime. They don't want that. So she comes up with inflation. We're going to do something about that, right? They caused the inflation. The Inflation Reduction Act fueled inflation, right? Throwing billions and billions of dollars into the economy fueled inflation. Didn't reduce inflation at all. A lie. So she's going to fight price gauging. What's price gauging? It's nonsense. There's no such thing as price gauging. She meant price gouging. She's going to fight price gouging. How? By price controls. Price controls. Joe Biden was prattling on about this nonsense when he was going to fight shrinkflation, right? You go in and you buy a bag of chips and you pay the same price and you notice the bag is smaller. This is the company ripping you off. No, it's not. The company has inflated costs, so it has one of two options. Charge more or a smaller amount in the bag. Sometimes a little bit of both, right? Higher bump in price and a little bit smaller product. Companies have to decide which philosophy works best. She's going to combat, price gouging at the groceries, right? Who's price gouging? Is it the farmer who's got inflated fuel costs, inflated fertilizer costs, increased costs to feed himself and his family, housing costs, everything's inflated. He needs to bump up the price of food so he can live. The truck driver, is he price gauging? No, he's got inflated costs, right? His fuel costs, his food costs, his rent costs, all gone up. The supermarkets, same thing for the supermarkets. And yes, they pass on this price to the consumer. The price margin in the grocery industry, the food industry, is about 1.6%. Very small profit margins. This is how free markets work, right? I produce a product at a given level of quality, and I try to keep that price as low as I can. I need to generate a profit because I need to reinvest in my business, expand and test new technology. It costs money. I need to sustain a profit. The business needs to be healthy. Somebody else comes along and says, I think I can do better. And so you have competitive markets, right? Free markets, competitive markets. Talk about this at length in my book. And thanks a great deal to Thomas Sowell, the economist. He looked at the Soviet Union. Extremely wasteful. They produced products that were absolute crap. You wanted a car, there's one choice. The shitbox Lada. You have to wait years to get one of these cars. Inherently unreliable and very, very expensive. Why? Because there was no competitive market. So companies, they try to give you the best quality product at the best price. And if somebody comes along who can do it better, whether it's in the food industry or clothing, it just doesn't matter. The best price wins, right? Anyways, these leftists, they continue to lie and they continue to smear Donald Trump. Donald Trump said this before. He's a bullshitter. He exaggerates. He's the guy who comes back from the fishing trip and he got a fish this big. Okay, he's bullshitting. Doesn't actually expect you to believe it. But these leftists, they are deliberately lying, manufacturing the truth. And I remind you again about this fence business and the photo IDs, in case you think, well, maybe they were just mistaken, and no, they're lying to you. They will stop at nothing. Lenin famously said, the truth is what works, what advances the party. Same with morality. The highest moral principles are those that advance the party. Anyways, thanks so much for your time and attention. Bye-bye now.